To get started, everybody make sure you are in design mode. Feel free to check out these different modes, but for the sake of what we're doing, we'll be using the design mode. Fusion 360 is what we'll be using is what's called parametric modeling. So with this style of modeling, we can set different type of constraints, and what these constraints would do is they would hold up as we start editing. Now, this will make more sense as we start our design. So you can see there's different components here. Let me move this out of the way. So different components here. So for example, you can adjust the plane, your view here, and we can, you can go ahead and you see the different types of the timeline and everything. So what I want you to do is go ahead and click right where I'm clicking. And change your units if you have, if it needs to be changed, go ahead and change it to millimeters, okay? Now you have different options like meters, inches, feet. For what our teaching go, we're gonna use millimeter, and I found that to be a lot more useful, okay? So we change it to millimeters, and then what we want to do is talk about different components. So over here, you can see there's one box, okay? Now, for future design, so what I want to teach you guys today is we're gonna be creating a box. And the next class, we'll be creating a lid that will be going on the box. Now, to make these parts move and actually get to watch a preview, we cannot have only one box here, okay? So what we need are different components. So go ahead and right click on this main part and say create, or click new component. Once you do that, you can go ahead and click on it again so that you can rename it. So don't double click, but click and then click again and call it box. All right, I hope everybody's following. Tim, go ahead and interrupt me anytime if somebody has a question relating to these steps, okay? And click here again and say.
He's just asking you to restate that again, please. Shay is asking you to restate.
Okay.
Just how you, I guess how you did that.
Yeah, so you right click and you say new component. Now I'm creating two components because we have the box and then we have the lid. So you click on it once it turns blue, you click on it again, you type lid. Again, at this point, it might not make too much sense of what I'm doing, but as we go through the teachings, you'll see why we are doing what we're doing, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we want to work on our box, okay? Now, on the, over right on the side of the lid, and I'm gonna go slowly because I know you're navigating between my screen share and you're navigating with your Fusion 360. So I'll go as slow as I can and I'll be repeating myself multiple times. So please excuse this, just, you know, it's the nature of Zoom meetings, right? So on the side, you see this little dot with a black dot in the middle, or the circle with the black dot in the middle. This right now, the lid is selected. So right now, if I were to create something here, it would be the lid. What I want to do is hover over box and click on it, on this little circle, okay? So now we have the box selected. And if everybody's there, they have a box and they have a lid, we can go ahead and continue. Okay, so now that we did this, the number one rule, we have to make sure we save it. Now, saving on Fusion 360 is also different. So Fusion 360 is a cloud-based software. So meaning anything you do on it will be saved to the cloud. This is designed specifically this way. It is different than different CAD softwares. This one will be in the cloud, and it's specifically designed for team interactions. So many people can join in and design or work on different components of an object. So let's say if this is, you know, a car company and you're designing a new engine, this is what Fusion 360 is made for you to be able to all work as a team. So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and click save, and you can select your location. For me, I have a folder called Nova Teachings, so I'm going to go ahead and put it there, and I'm going to go ahead and call it box. Now everybody go ahead and do that. You can select, it will create a, for you guys will be called My First Project. And you say save. Okay. So again, make sure you save this. I've had many instances where suddenly power flickers and I lose everything I have. So please be sure you save it and make sure you select where you want to save it as well. And the way you can access these different saves is if you click on this top, all the way to your top show data panel, top left. When you click on that, so I have my first project. This was the first project I created. And within that, I have many different projects, okay? When you click home, you just go to the wherever for you guys would be called My First Project. So just a little side note for how to save these designs, because it is important. You will spend many hours on designing different things, and you need to know where it's saved, how it's saved, and how to access it. So we can go ahead and click X, and we can go back to the drawing board. Okay, we're going to be talking about what's called an origin. So everybody, where the box is selected, click on this little arrow on the left. Once you do that, there is a really faded eyeball. So you see how this is a gray eyeball? This is a faded one, and it has a cross going across it. Go ahead and click that. See, now when you click that, you will see the you can make the origin visible. So this is what's called the origin. You have the X, Y, and Z axes, okay? And with that, so now you have a pretty much whenever you design something, you have to pin it into this free space. You have to have a origin point, right? So let's say if I want to draw something, I need to select where, if I want it to be on the X, Y, or Z. And once we design something, we design it in two-dimensional. So 2D, once we do that, we will extrude it into 3D. And those are, I'm just giving you an explanation of the steps that we will be taking before I start them. So you have an idea of what is happening. Okay, so this is practically, we're nailing it in space. We have now an origin of where our design will be. So we made it visible, and now we want to go ahead and start a 2D sketch. So where my mouse is, see it says create sketch. We're going to be creating a two-dimensional sketch. So go ahead and click it. And now select the plane. These are called planes. Select the plane you want to sketch on. I want to do it at the bottom. Okay, so the Z axis. I want to put, so you go ahead and click on it. Now you went into sketch mode. As you can see up here, all of your different items ended up changing. It had different types of, and now you have different types of options. So what we want to do is a 2-point rectangle. So go ahead and everybody click on the 2-point rectangle. And now go ahead and select on the center, which is the first corner. And now, as you can see, when I move my mouse around, we have these numbers changing. So, you know, if you're just designing something that you don't care about the dimensions, you can just go ahead and click on the other end. Like, let's say, oh, I want it to be this big, right? No exact dimensions. You can just click and your box will be created. What I want to do is I want to actually put in dimensions. Now, these are when we want to have exact sizes, because if we're making a custom item, we want it to have exact sizes. So I want this to be 30 millimeters. Okay, so go ahead and type in 30 without clicking anything. Once everybody does that, go ahead and press tab. And now you can see it went to the next part where it says 100 millimeters, right? So the tab, once I click tab, there's a little gold lock button right beside the 30 millimeters. That means that position is locked in. So now we're gonna go ahead and type in 60. Once everybody's done, now you can again press tab to navigate between them. So don't say, oh, I forgot to, you know, I need to change that. You can just press tab again and it'll go back and forth. Once we're done, go ahead and press enter. All right, so now we created our first two-dimensional sketch, okay? Now, if I move it, as you can see, this is only a two-dimensional sketch. Now I'm pausing a little bit so that everybody catches up. Please let me know if you're stuck, and we can go through that. Okay.
There is a question from Carlos. He says he doesn't see the screen origin cube on the top right.
Oh, like this cube that I'm navigating with, you cannot see it?
I think that's what he means.
Yeah, that's odd. Well, I won't be able to. I mean, there's no way to make it not visible. If anybody else knows it, go ahead and help him out. But this has always been there. I've never had an instant where this is not visible.
Sorry, I really don't see the origin cube in the center of the when you draw the rectangle.
Okay, well, let's, I'm gonna go ahead and move on forward. If you can stick around after class, we can go through this and see what the problem is.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're gonna be doing is we want to, let me see, sorry, that threw me off track because I have notes that I want to make sure I mention these. So oh yeah, so what we're going to be using is shortcut keys. So we can use these different options up here, or we can use different shortcut keys. All right, why is it not? All right, so different shortcut keys. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so okay, I wanted to talk about these little icons here on the side. So these are what are called constraints. What constraints are like, it will make, you can make different types of constraints on your sketches to make sure that they withhold the dimensions that you put. So for example, if you want this to be equal to this, or if you want different angles, if you want something to be at a 30-degree angle, 40-degree angle, you can select these different constraints. Again, I just want to mention these because you will be using these just for the sake of precision. So now that we are done with that, we are going to hit finish sketch, everybody on the top right. So when you hit finish sketch, it should automatically home. When you click the home button on the top right, it should automatically home the view. So now you have your rectangle, okay? And now what I'm going to show you is how to extrude this out, okay? So we can use this extrude here, right? When you click it, it automatically selects it, but I also want to show you the shortcut key because, again, once you will be doing a lot of extruding, so I want to tell you what the shortcut key is. It's Q. So you guys, I want you to go ahead and click here and click Q. That also, see, it took you to extrude. So you will be using this a lot. So I want you to know about it for sure. So now we want to extrude this upwards, or we can do downwards. But for ours, since we're creating a box, I want it to be upwards. So type in 30. Now press enter. Congratulations. Now you just designed your first 3D model. This model right now, you can literally put it on a 3D printer and print it. So Yeah, so if you have no experience, you just gained some new experience. So now we want to go ahead and draw on these, okay? We want to start other sketches, okay? Sorry, did anybody have a question? Somebody have a question? No, okay. So these are called different faces. And these are terms that if you will be working on a team, you will have to start using. So these are different faces of your object, okay?
Where did you hit finish sketch again?
I'm sorry?
Before you said to hit finish sketch, and I didn't see where you clicked on that.
It was on top right.
Thanks.
Guys, if you guys have questions, please be sure to type it in the chat box, and Tim will help me out, okay? All right. So we have these different faces here. Now, what we want to do is make the inside of this hollow. So the way I taught you guys, right, is you can click Sketch and select the face you want to sketch on, which in our case would be the top. When you click this, so now it selects the top. Again, we can do the style we did, where you just draw a rectangle and then you will type in the dimensions. Or let's say if I want to have a 3 millimeter wall on all of these, okay? So I'm going to press Escape to get out of that triangle drawing mode. What I want to do is I want to do an offset plane. So right click on that face. Right now we're in sketch mode. So when you right click, you should get the offset plane option. Oh, this is doing wrong. I'm sorry. Just press cancel, guys. Nope, still not doing it. Where is the offset? Let's try this one. We're in sketch mode. Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry about that. So what you can do is a shortcut key, click the O while you're in sketch mode, click the O, and then select this rectangle here. You see that? So you see how it turns blue? Go ahead and select that. So now you should have a blue little knob or whatever you want to call it. And when you move this, it moves outwards and inwards, right? And as you can see, as I'm hovering it in and out, when I move it in, it goes into the negative, and when I move it out, it goes to the positive. So what you want to do is, instead of just moving it in and out and getting it precise, you can just actually type it in. So what you can do is type in -3. Press enter. So now, as I zoom in, you see it says this 3 millimeters wall, right? So now we have this wall that is 3 millimeters all around. It's an offset. Instead of me drawing a triangle and trying to calculate everything, what we did was we created an offset line. Okay, so now as you can see, if I hover over, you can select these. So now we technically have a different face here. So now I can start editing this one specifically. And of course, what we want to do is extrude it, right? Or we can use the extrusion tool to make this hollow, to pretty much carve the inside of this box, okay? So we're done. We're gonna say we're done with sketching. Top right, you can select finish sketch, okay? So now we're back where we have all this different menu. So you can press Q, and now this takes you to the extrude mode. See, as you can see, I can extrude it, but now check this out. When I go the opposite direction, it starts carving in it. Okay, you guys will be using this again. I cannot stress that you guys will be, these would be the main tools you will use many times as you're designing. Now, again, I want it to be 3 millimeters. So I can either try to be smart about it and start minusing what is, 30 millimeters height, right? What is 30 minus this or that? Instead of doing that, I want this to be 3 millimeters also. So as you can see, I can go make it hollow all the way down. Or what you can do here on the right, as you can see, it says distance. You want it to be to object. So what that means is when you go ahead and click onto object, so now it's saying I want the distance to be to and relative to an object. So we want it to be to the bottom of this, right? So when I click it, it makes it all the way hollow through. Now here's the cool trick. You can do an offset here as well, okay? So what we want to do is we want it to be 3 millimeter offset. Actually, no, negative 3 millimeter offset. So everybody be with me. So when you type in negative and click OK, now you have a 3 millimeter offset at the bottom as well. So you made a box with 3 millimeter walls all the way around. Now, Tim, does anybody have a question? Is everybody with me?
Yeah, everyone's good right now. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Somebody could just back up and maybe do that again. I think Eric is just asking, can you just maybe redo that again? Maybe just do the whole internal box, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I can
And
do
Shay
that.
says her extruder screen doesn't have object on it. So maybe start from scratch the whole thing again. Maybe the whole box, just do a whole new box and just do it. So
Absolutely. So, this is another thing. If you guys end up clicking at the wrong spots, you can always do the undo. And when you undo, it will undo the steps. So you can click Control Z to undo or Command Z if you have a Mac. So you just do that, click it. So see, I undid it. Also, I want you to be aware of other things too. So this is what's called a timeline, okay? So what that means is it's showing a timeline of what we have done. So for example, when I click on this, double click on it, see, it's showing the triangle or the rectangle we created. Then when I double click, or when I say finish sketch, when I double click here, this is the extrusion one I did, right? So when you double click it, so you can always go back and edit things around. So let's say if your box wasn't tall enough, you can go back and go ahead and change a value and you say, I want it to be 40 millimeters, okay? But in this case, we're gonna keep it the way it was. And then this is the offset sketch that I did, okay? So now we're gonna go ahead and go, you can again click extrude or click Q, whichever you're comfortable with. Click Q, select this field here that you want to extrude, okay? So the extent, the distance means how much distance you want. Now you can again use this. This is not a problem at all. But the only issue you will have is, let's say if we end up raising this box another 10 millimeter, that means the bottom of this box will end up being thicker, because when you raise this only goes down, let's say 22 millimeters down. So that means when you raise this, the bottom of it will be thicker. So that means you have to go ahead and edit this, because now you're making changes. So to prevent that, what I'm gonna say is, see here it says extent, click on it, to object. So we're making it relative. This is, again, this is the beauty of parametric modeling. So what we're going to do is we're going to create these relationships between them. So we want it to say to object, and you select the bottom. When you select the bottom here, so that means this will go down to relative to the bottom of this box because when I selected it, and you want it to have an offset, right? So just go ahead and highlight all of it, type in -3. And then click OK. So when you did that, now you have a 3 millimeter bottom. So now when let's say go back to the step and I want to edit this again, and I change this to, let's say, 50 millimeters. You guys don't have to do this. I'm just showing it just for presentation, and click OK. So even though I raised it, the bottom continues to remain 3 millimeters. Again, these will become a lot more useful when you start becoming a lot more proficient with this. And these are the tools. Just to give you guys, now I want some people to catch up, so I'm going to tell you about a little bit of my background. I actually learned this from scratch as well. So I've been working with Fusion 360 for a few years now, and it is a very, very powerful tool. But when you use these the way I'm teaching, it ends up being a lot more helpful in the long run. So that's definitely helpful. So now what I want to, is everybody caught up? Hopefully everybody's where we need to be. Everybody has this beautiful box. All right, so let me move this out of the way. Now I want to show you what's called fillets. Now fillets are, once you hover over it, over the icon, it'll tell you what it is, and you can see now you can start actually modeling your designs to change things, okay, to make them more curvy, different, different types of textures to them. So I want these to have round edges. So let's click on just one of the corners, okay. Now you can either click fillet or type in F, okay. So when you press F, now you can start changing this, okay? So let's say if we didn't want a box, you can just move this in, and now you have this weird shape. But what we want to do is we want to, let's say, add a 3 millimeter fillet, or oops, 3. So press fillet, type 3, press enter. Now you can see we rounded the corner. So let's do the rest of these. I want to go ahead and put in a fillet for the rest of these on the outsides, okay? Press F. Now you can hold the command or control down for, if you have a Mac, hold the commands down. If you have a Windows machine, just hold the control, if I'm not mistaken, and you can select multiple corners. So we already did this, but we want to do this, 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 okay? And in addition, we want to do the insides too. Now this is a little bit tricky, so we'll do the insides all at the same time after this step. So now when you let go of that, all 3 corners are selected, and we will put 3, okay, and then press OK. So now we have rounded corners, and we're going to do the same with the insides of this, okay? So hold command or control, and then when you hover your mouse, while holding down, you can rotate around and select this. All the corners. So keep holding it down, okay? Once you select all the corners, you can let go. Okay, where did my box go? My box disappeared. There we go. And then you just type in 3. Now look at that. It looks beautiful now. So now we have a rounded box, and again, you can do this with the bottom as well. Now here's a cool thing that Fusion does. When I click the fillet, now it selects all of this because there's no edges to this shape at the bottom. So when you click on it and we do 3, look at that, and click OK. So now you have this rounded box. That is very nice shape. Again, if anybody is doing this just to start 3D printing. Now, this is a perfect object you can actually 3D print. If you need to custom make brackets, if you need to custom make anything, pretty much these skills that I taught you today will show you how to do this. Now, let's say if you want to put a hole here, right? So let's go ahead and try that, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this sketch, right? And I wanna select the face. Again, I'm gonna be using these terms a lot. You select the face you want to put the hole on. So if you wanna put it here, put a hole going through for screws. If you wanna put a hole here, wherever you want, you just select that face. So feel free to click wherever you want for that. And now let's start using some other types of sketch tools. Now we want to do a circle this time, and you just select it here and move it out. So we want it to be 12 millimeters, for example. Same thing, same idea, finish sketch. So, and again, pay attention to your timeline. So these timelines are showing you all the steps. Now, if I want to go back, this is how you go back and edit this. Don't start, redoing things. Let's say if I end up putting a hole here, all you can do is you just delete that step, right? So, and I'll show you. So I'm going to click Q, click on this. You can either make it go out or in, or do the to surface, right? And like make the distance relative to another surface. So here you can just go ahead and click to object, select the other side of the wall, and now you see it's hollow. Now you can do an offset, right? Or you can just click OK. So now you have a hole. So no matter how thick I make this wall here, this hole will always be there, right? Because sometimes if you have, let's say, a 3 millimeter, if you, let's say, specified, you said, I want this to be 3 millimeters. Well, let's say if you go back and make let's just do that just for the fun of it. I want to be able to demonstrate this as well as I can. So, so where did we do the offsets? I believe it was right here. So you see how this is 3? I want it to be -4. -4. Finish sketch. Now my walls are thicker and the hole still exists because I made it relative to that. Now, if I didn't do that and I said, oh, you know what? Instead of to object, I want it to be to distance, and I wanted this to be, because back before our wall was 3, right? So let's say I did that. So now look at that. That hole doesn't exist anymore because I made my walls thicker. Now the hole is gone, so now I have to go back, retrace all my steps. So that step that I showed you is a very useful step. So I'm Control-Z, or Command-Z, so to undo it. And another cool trick is, again, we can always go back. And on this timeline, we can start moving things around and modifying them. So I can move this, for example, here. Right now, in this case, it wouldn't make sense. But right now, let's say if I'm done with this, I don't want this hole to be here. You just right-click on it, and you say delete. So the extrusion is gone, but the sketch is still there, right? So we want to delete that too because there's no sense in having this sketch here. Right-click on it, click delete, and we're back at the box again. So that's this is pretty much the basics of Fusion 360. Now, again, there's many different tools we can use, but just for time's sake, this is it's an introduction, and I don't want to overwhelm you with this. And we have the next session, of course, coming up. I believe it's next week, the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. And in that one, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and keep your eyes on my screen. So I want to show you this. So and the next part, we're going to start on our lead. So when I select the lead, now look at this. Isn't this cool? So it unhighlights this. It makes it almost very transparent. So when I'm starting to design my lead, it's going to be we're going to design it on top of this and with this dimensions that we have put down, right? So, and you can also make this disappear just in case this is being an eyesore. Right now, you're like, you know what? I don't want to worry about this. I want to put it away. What you do is you just click the eyeball right here. You make it invisible. So now we have a clean canvas to get started on our lid. But since we are going to be making it relative to this, we want to make it visible. So now let's say I want to go back. You just click on here. So guys, that's it as far as our demonstration goes with this box. Now we can make it open to everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you're stuck somewhere, I do know one of our students cannot find this box. I honestly will have to Google this because I've never had that issue. I don't know why that wouldn't show, so I wouldn't be able to answer that right away. Or feel free while others are asking, just go ahead and start Googling why this box on the top right would not show up. If that's it, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna open it to everybody.
Eric solved that problem. I think there, Arash, is that it's in the view menu, which is under file. So go file, view,
Okay.
and then turn on view cube.
Okay.
John or Eric or somebody put it in there.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for actually sharing on the steps. So if somebody else had the issue, go ahead and do that.
And the recording will be on. Somebody's asking about the recording that will be on the Nova Systemic YouTube channel.
Yes.
All the videos go on there. What other questions have they for you? Eric has a question. Will the box and lid be considered one part?
No, they will not be. That's why we created components, right? So I should have named this maybe the magic box or, something different, because we already have, this is called the box and this is called the lid. So these are different components. So, and again, I brought up 3D printing because I naturally, when I learned how to 3D design so I could 3D print. So you can select different objects to start 3D printing. So so these are segmented out, and then you can also copy them and put them in different models. So let's say if you've created something that you want to have a different variation of it, you can literally select this and you can copy or move it or whatever you like to do to manipulate it. Any other questions?
Somebody was asking for the YouTube channel. I'm just going to paste it in there. Again, it's just type it, do a search, and there's the YouTube channel link. If you do a search for Nova Systemic YouTube, just put it into Google Internet Explorer, and it just pops up. The video won't be on yet. It takes like 24, 48 hours to be put on.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. I'm actually going to keep sharing my screen just because.
Another question, more questions here for you. How do you get it to an STL file? So Eric has it like here. So he wants to get from what you have right there to as an STL file.
So it sounds like somebody wants to 3D print this right away, huh?
Yes.
So hover over to tools and you say make, and it's pretty cool. It has a 3D printer icon here. When you click make, sensor not currently compatible with the version of Cura. That's okay. I use that for my slicer. So instead of that, you say custom here. So you see how the panel, oops, what did I click? Oh, there you go. Nope, that's not it. Output. Okay, so what I have is selected to be sent to my Cura slicer. What you want to do, if you want to just have a STL file, you say custom, and where is the option? Let's see. Where did it go? Sorry, I actually reinstalled this, so a lot of my settings that I selected from the past are not showing. Preview mesh, output. Yeah, that's correct. Custom preform. I will get back to you on that. How about that? I'll send you. I'm actually going to write it down. Save as STL file. And what was the name, Tim, so I could get back to them?
I think it was Eric. Eric was asking it. Eric was asking the question. I just looked up on export, and you can export it as different file types, but
Yes.
STL isn't one of them. STL is not listed as one of those, so you probably have to go, as you said, into the make.
Okay, I will
can see
find
what it
out.
is on mine
I
here.
have done it to STL files before, and again, I don't know if maybe they did an update that changed that. But I will definitely. I've done this many times, and once you do it once, it will continue doing that way. So I will get back to you, Eric, in a short email. I'll shoot you an email and let you know. Okay.
Let's see.
Custom MakerBot print. Why would it be that? Any other questions? Oh, this wants me to select the application I'm going to be converting to. It wants me to.
Yeah, so John has file export and STL is an option. So I'm just looking at mine here right now. I didn't have it. I didn't draw. I wasn't drawing at the same time as you. So
Okay. So what did you say?
file export.
File.
Yeah, STL is an option. File. You just go to export, file, export,
Okay.
and just scroll down.
Yeah.
It's at the bottom. It's the
There you
very
go.
last one.
Yeah. I see it. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. Yeah, that's true. This directly sends it to your 3D printer. That's why, yeah, my mistake, guys. Been doing it this way for a long time, so I completely forgot to do it a different way. But yeah, so file, yeah, export. Whoever found this out, I'll give them credit. I'm not taking credit. I'm just showing you how to do it based on what they said. So yeah, so file, export, and then you select STL. Now, for people who don't know what STL is that is a file that you can send to a slicer that will turn that pretty much into a code that your 3D printer recognizes to print. So, and it's referred to as G code. So, that usually a lot of them are STL files. So, and you can see different types. OBJ is another common one. So, yeah, but the STL is one of the most common for 3D printing or just transporting them, sending them to different people for them to manipulate.